Welcome to another video where I read all the books that I missed from BookTube and Bookstagram and BookTalk and all those channels. We read 3 different books, one lit fic, one thriller, and the other one is also lit fic but less depressing, I would say. So I decided to read all the books that I missed by not being part of this awesome community. And I missed them because just didn't hear about it, not because I wasn't a reader or anything, I always read, but just because I didn't see or hear anything about the hype of those books. Now, I chose those 3 books because of the authors. Those authors are still very much talked about and are still releasing books, and those books are still very hyped. So I was really just interested in reading where their hype started, I believe. And those books are Normal People by Sally Rooney, None of This Is True by Liza Jewell, and A Man Called Over by Frederick Backman. Yes. I think I made great choices. I read those books really fast because they were just so good. Like, all of the books were good, I have to say. Let's get into that. So, Sally Rooney is still very much part of the book community, and their books are still very much hyped. Normal People is still very much talked about, and there's even a TV adaptation. And I believe this book is very much written for millennials. This book is set in Ireland. First half or first third, I believe, is in over on the Galway coast, I always call it. And the next 2 parts are in Dublin or around Dublin. And it's basically about 2 classmates who are going through growing up and a lot of mental health problems. Like, the main female character, Marianne, has a very hard childhood, very abusive mother and in general family. And the main male character has his own limitations. I'm just gonna put it that way. While there's not, it's your typical coming of age story, but very lit fic. I wouldn't put it into the young adult category because there's a lot of like drug abuse and just abuse in there. Also, while I feel like there's not much happening in the romance department, although it's supposed to have a romantic subplot, there's really not that much happening, sadly. However, I could not stop reading it. The character description and work Sally Rooney did was really captivating. And I wish we had a lot more time with Marianne, to be honest, because her potential to dive deeper into like her eating disorder and into her just mental state in general, it was really great. Connor, in comparison, I feel like his anxiety that he always had and he masked during school years was not as compelling. I would recommend this book for you if you like really messy relationships like seriously messy relationships. They went on and off, and they were orbiting each other like moth to a flame. The book really shines through its character study, to be honest. The book has great dialogue. So this is like one thing I really enjoyed, that there was just so much depth and realness in the dialogue that you don't find so easily in other books. Like this could have been a normal conversation most of the time that would be really happening in real life. The dialogue had the potential to come to a point without the dialogue feeling phony. It is a 4-star read, and while really there's really not much happening in the book, I could not stop reading it. It was so captive. It was such a captivating read. I could not put it down. So, Liza Jewell, none of this is true. Liza Jewell in general comes up as a canon author for thrillers all the time. This one has been reviewed so many times, so I give you a little bit of like an insight what I think about it. This book is about a podcaster who is pulled into a new story or a new podcast format by her birthday twin, so a woman that has the same birthday as her. And then it just goes really morbidly bad and creepy from there. This book is good if you like a podcast structure with transcripts. If you were like an unreliable narrator and really slow creeping up dread, like fairly atmospheric dread. As you know, I'm not a thriller girly. I don't read a lot of thrillers. However, I usually do prefer thrillers where the outcome or the twists or like this thing that makes a thriller is not very obvious. And in this book, I have to say, sadly, that the twists and the outcome eventually is fairly predictable. There is in this, like this one has a bonus chapter that I believe gives even more input that I didn't want to have to the ending. However, I can see how it's really interesting if you're really fan of the book to have that bonus chapter. However, it gives another dimension to the ending that I didn't appreciate. So this is a 3.5 star read for me. I did like the podcast or reality TV transcript addition to the story because it kind of pulled the story and the timelines together, and it gave insights to the story you wouldn't have had normally. However, I think it gave too much away as well. And also, if you, I just gonna say, like, check the trigger warnings because some of the content is maybe not for everyone. I don't think, however, this has a trigger warning, this book. Then look them up in any case. Overall, fast-paced read, good for holidays, I would say. And then the last book for this vlog is A Man Called Ove. 5 stars, hands down, one of my favorite reads of this year. I suffered through through this book. The first 60, I marked it, the first 60 pages I cried twice. Twice. so emotionally but funny. And okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Frederick Backman is canon author in on the social channels. His books usually land on the top rankings. His newest book, My Friends, just came out a few months ago. That's why I picked this up, because I wanted to read his earlier works before starting with his latest. It has not one but two TV adoption or film adoptions. And I think it got even like a Booker Prize or something. Okay, I have to cut this out. I just spoiled you. Okay, this book is about a very taciturn, very grumpy man who seems to be in early retirement, who's getting new neighbors that have kids, and is finding friendship in the most impossible ways. It is a very, very heartwarming book about found family, and yet so sad. So sad. And so emotional. And just thinking about it, I'm choking up. I really do, because it was so, like, seriously, like, from an emotional standpoint, Frederick Backman did something that I haven't seen done this way before, because the main character is, if you read the first like 20 pages, is not very lovable or likable. He's like, I find him cute because my husband is a grump too, so it's there. I find it cute. The way it develops and the way you just getting to love this old grump is so well done. Is so well done. Like, and I cannot wait to read more of Frederick Backman, to be honest. Also, I wanna compliment the craft that Frederick Backman put into this book. There was nothing overly sweet or overly sad, although I cried so many times. In this book, it was all so balanced, so you were sad of the actions in the book, of the plot in the book, not because there was like traumatic voices in there or traumatic anything. It was just so understated. Even the prose was understated, that some of the things catches you by surprise. You go like, oh my god, why am I tearing up right now? So I wanna like I really want to compliment that to Frederick Backman. Because, like, as you know, I'm also reading romance, and in romance, you sometimes have this like really dramatic, also language and prose and stuff, where you go like, where you just get like want to be emotional with. You just are emotional with this one. Doesn't need the drama. The drama. I would say, if you are not fan of grumps like I am, you have to kind of bite through the first 30, 60 pages. I would say 60 pages. After that, you just think he's lovable in his grumpiness. But yeah, if you're not a fan of grumpiness, that might be something that would turn you off. But it seriously, after 60 pages, you're gonna be fine. 5 stars, hands down. One of the best reads of this year. Loved it so much. And I'm really like, I'm a mainly fantasy reader. And that's why I'm so surprised that a Litfic is one of the best books I've read this year. But this is why I'm filming this series, to actually find new authors, new genres, new everything that people have hyped, and I want to see if it stands up to the hype, but also to find exactly that, and not miss out just because I want to keep also up with new releases, right? So, very thankful for my BookTube people and Bookstagram people and BookTok people who keep up on recommending books that are a few years old. Here are 5 more books that are canon that should have an honorable mention. It's The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Read it, loved it. Not as much as Atmosphere, still loving it. Then Gone Girl by Flynn. What's her first name? Forgot. But Gone Girl is one. It was, remember, it was like this huge Netflix movie, I believe, that was so successful back in 2021, I believe. Okay. Then The Silent Patient by Machiaelitis, also not read, is on my list. The Secret History by Tart. And another book of Taylor Jenkins Reid, Daisy Jones and the Six, which we have talked about. I'm not a big fan of it because I find the two main characters unbearable. Unbearable. And I don't think that this is a love story that needs to be told. Anyway, that's and I know there's also a TV show on that one. And these were the honorable mentions. Let me know which book in those categories, so lit, fic, and thriller, you think is canon and I should be picking up. Would love to hear your recommendations. Until next time, have a good one. I'm gonna be enjoying the sun a little bit more. Bye bye.